Good evening. This is WeatherBrains episode number 617 for November 13th, 2017. The pre-show, marvelous time of the program. This is where we do three things, and you know what they are. We share boring personal stories, occasionally very boring, humorous anecdotes, and we often say outrageous things. So, Bill, pick your poison. Which one of the three do you want to do?
I don't know that I have a preference tonight.
Well, you look bored. How about a boring personal story?
I wouldn't say bored. I mean, I pulled in on two wheels at 8:10 eating a quarter pounder. So boring doesn't fit.
Well, no, that was a boring personal story. You
Okay,
pulled in
good.
eight
Ring the bell
minutes
then.
before the show eating McDonald's quarter pounder. So that's pretty
Exactly.
boring.
Okay, there you go. Been working on a website all day today for a hotel in Yellowstone, Montana, which
Sure,
is
it's
a beautiful
not
place.
nightcallnurses.com or anything like that, is it?
No. It was a It's a hotel, so no nurses near it anywhere.
How important is it for hotels to have a website? Because I don't know if I've ever gone to a website in probably 3 years. You go to, Travelocity or hotels, all these apps on your phone to do it. I guess you still need one.
Well, when you're investigating a vacation, you need more information. So, a website still is important for a destination location.
But you don't think people just go to these apps, these Travelocities and Expedias and all that?
Yeah, but they still go to a good website that that gives them information that's beyond the norm. And in this case, you're talking about the destination. This place is 3 miles from the northeast gateway to Yellowstone, and it's a really cool old western town, and it's just sort of off the grid, and it's got a lot going for it. You're just 5-minute drive from the Lamar Valley, and all the parts of Yellowstone that are sort of unreachable, not unreachable, but a long way away from the other entrances. So it's a unique experience. So you kind of have
okay.
to.
When I go to Yellowstone, I will go to that website, and
good.
I have never been. I feel like I need to go.
It's a beautiful place. I went in late July and was kind of blown away by it. I mean, just the amount of wildlife and everything that was there was just phenomenal. And just a beautiful, beautiful place. So that Lamar Valley is the Serengeti of North America. I mean, literally thousands of bison and elk and all kinds of crazy things.
You didn't go out there and shoot those things, did you? You
Oh, no, except with a camera. I don't know if you saw my shot of the bison coming down the highway about 6 a.m, just running along beside my car at about 15 miles an hour. It was really cool.
John Olshoe eats those things.
He does?
Yeah,
Like
didn't
bison?
he eat bison?
Oh, I actually had a bison burger somewhere recently. It was actually pretty good. It's in California, I guess.
I know John eats those wild hogs. He kills. No, he does. He goes out and he shoots wild hogs, and he makes bacon and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just
John living off the land down there in Mobile. I don't know.
Well, no, he did it when he was here. I don't know if they have wild hogs on the Gulf Coast down there, but I have never. I've never seen a wild hog.
No, fortunately, I haven't. Right, there's one invite. James right there. Okay.
Want me to invite this one?
Yeah, there'll be one more in a second. Let's get all my act together here.
It's Brian.
I don't know. He's been chatting with me on email about some, he's going to be gone the last Saturday of the month and wanted me to do the video. So told him I was glad to do that. And he's got to get Kim's information on the web. So he wanted to know if he needed to do that. And I asked him if he would. So
now, did her wedding go off okay?
I assume. I haven't heard anything from her. Guess they're on their honeymoon, huh? I don't know.
I'm still a little hurt that we weren't invited to be wedding singers.
We should have been wedding crashers. That would have been
if she saw any of us approaching that place where she was married, she would probably run.
Yeah, she probably had an earpiece and a little microphone in her wrist. Security.
Hey, see these WeatherBrains guys, take them out, get them out of here,
right.
Get them out of here.
All right, so I've got to make one more invite here.
Hey, Dean, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Tonight. All right, so I've got Dean. All I got to do is get Rob. I'm just going to give you the link, James, and let you invite him.
No, okay. Like Rick, we know Rick is out. Aubrey typically bops in about 27 after the hour. Where's Nate? Hadn't been on here in like a year. What do we need to do to get him back? Is he too big time for us now? He's a corporate
big NBC job, right?
Corporate NBC O&O guy. See, he's
turn back time from his third child.
Now he's going to be the consultant guy that tells people to say tracking all the time.
Now, WeatherBrains is tracking the tracker. We track what the consultants track, so you can track along with us. Does that make sense? Here's WeatherBrains lead tracker, Kevin Selly.
Oh my!
If you say tracker tracking every other sentence, you will be number one. No, where's Kevin? Kevin should be on here tonight. If not, I'll have to be the crank.
The crank. See, we're not Mississippi State stuff down there, James.
Yeah, Bill, you guys almost lost your football game there, man. As Coach Saban once said, State was running through the Alabama line like, through a tin horn Saturday night.
You always have to have that one game, and it's tough to go to Mississippi State. It's a tough place to play.
State's got like all their receivers are injured. They didn't, they didn't really have anybody to throw to, so they should have known they were going to run.
Well, when you're on your fifth string inside linebacker, it's not a good situation. So I really fear Auburn game. I think it's going to be quite tough. Then fear Oklahoma. I mean, good Lord, they look good, and now it looks like the U is back. So it's going to be crazy.
We'll see. That's why they play the game.
That's all you do.
I just sent a text over to Rob, so he sees that too.
But I saw him joining.
Oh.
But then he went away.
Here comes Brian. Brian's just getting back from Wesley's Booby Trap Lounge, where he spends his Monday nights tanking up before the show.
Best way to do this show.
And Brian's segment is brought to you by Alabama Power Company. Notice the logo, the corporate logo on his shirt. Is that a new shirt, Brian?
No, it's probably several months old.
Looks very fashionable.
Normally he's wearing an NWA shirt.
Yeah, he is.
Usually got that 2011 NWA shirt on.
He's probably got He's probably got an endorsement deal from Southern Company.
Oh yes, it's 1.6 million a year.
If you wear our shirt on that show, WeatherBrains, we will pay you $1.7 million annually. So
absolutely, I'm all for it.
Tech ain't paying me, but I'm one of the founding members for the Blue Ridge chapter. So, and now I'm on the local chapters committee. So
I just opened up email. It says, I'm not getting into the hangout. I'm getting a please wait. So that was from Brian. So Brian, you're obviously here. Aubrey says, I may be able to hop in during the show, but I'm finishing our winter forecast, which I'm way behind on. So she knows what she knows what the winter's going to be like. We got it. Wait a minute. She needs to break that on this show.
Yeah, she better be on here. Yeah.
I mean, that's the minute I see her, we're going to roll breaking news. We have somebody that knows what the winter is going to do.
Well, I saw that one of your colleagues put out a Thanksgiving forecast.
Yeah.
Also a very specific Thanksgiving forecast.
Yeah. Well,
you didn't get to see that?
That I heard about it. I guess that colleague is just better than I am because I have no ability to do that. Considering this is November 13th. All right, we'll better leave that alone here.
I just emailed Rob, so maybe he'll get that instead of the regular invite.
I texted him too, so he should. Hopefully he got one of the two.
You know, with all the things that everybody's bombarded with, it's no wonder they don't understand anything about weather forecasts.
No, it's. And you think it's bad on television? Just the app stuff, man. It's
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, the AccuWeather stuff, the apps, all the TV stations. I mean, you know, all these websites that claim that, you know,
and it's interesting when you see somebody trying to use it, because like, you know, my son's track coach sent out an email last Thursday. He said, "Here's the track practice schedule for next week. You know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we'll be at the high school. Friday it's going to rain, so we're going to be at the middle school." And I thought, it's not going to rain next Friday, most likely. And you know, how did you get that information? Was, you know, so I've got to pin him down and see where he gets his data.
So you don't know where he got that.
I figure it came from like Weather Underground or somewhere, but you know, probably was some app that had a rain symbol on next Friday at the.
You know how apps go, one computer model at a time.
Crap apps, baby, crap apps. That's how the world gets their weather. Crap apps. So we're about to hit here at the bottom of the hour. Let me stand by for the television. We've got a weird problem with that Weather Max 3, Brian. The BMX, there's no echoes, and I don't know, you know, I guess I just need to go back there and reboot it or something, but there are no echoes when you select BMX for like a 3-hour loop, which is typically what's on that channel. So I had to put it on the regional, you know, the composite yesterday at the house, which is odd.
So does it pick up any of the, like, you know, there's kind of the all this stuff?
It gets the composite stuff fine, but I couldn't, you know, MXX, GWX, HTX, none of the single site radar data was there. It's just a blank map, and we had those little showers yesterday, so I thought that was rather odd. But I'll go back there, and I didn't have time today, but I'll go play with it some tomorrow. You know, it's back there in that room by Master Control.
Yeah, I've been back there in the catacombs.
Yeah, it's like it's like sitting on the floor. You have to, you know, literally do a. You know, get your belly down on the floor to be able to see it. And good evening, television friends. Welcome. It is now 30 minutes after the hour. This is James with WeatherBrains. This is the pre-show, the magical time of the show where we kind of get our act together and get ready to do the main program.
And you can always tell when we go on television because James' voice changes.
It just sounds like National Public Radio now.
It does.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes.
I might go over it with your folks. I just don't remember.
So there's Grumpy.
Yeah, good. Kevin, you okay over there?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was talking to somebody as I logged in there. How are you guys?
Check your mics. Are you on the right one?
Hang on. I'm gonna try a different camera here too.
He has so many.
I had to get yet another computer. Do you want a boring personal story?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for it.
We're not hearing anything now.
Hang on.
Now it's good. It's clean. Whatever you just did, you're there.
Yeah. I was going to try this other camera too.
You
even look better.
Super high definition.
The camera on the new laptop is this one's a little overexposed, isn't it? I'm wearing white. No, that's terrible.
You look a little chalky there, Kevin.
I've got two monitors literally right in front of me, and they.
Now, is this an external camera or the built-in camera?
This is a Logitech.
So if you got a fancy new camera on the computer, why do you need that?
I wanted to try this one. Is that okay with you?
Well, but your other one looks so good.
I realize that. This is what it's called trying.
Okay.
He's just trying to keep up with the James Spence in the world.
Okay.
You don't look so chalky.
Yeah, well, it's the lighting. There's bad lighting in front of me. But the Logitech, you have a Logitech, James, right?
Yes.
This one.
I think it's a
920.
This one doesn't. I don't think it's a 920. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. It is a C920. Yeah, C920.
Nailed it.
Okay. Anyway,
I think that's the one I have.
Yeah.
I think Rick Smith has one of these.
Yeah, they're nice. We got it for Tracy, but I wanted to try it for something. The boring personal story is back on October 1st, I got this new Mac, right? This new MacBook Air. And right out of the box, this is a bad desk here in the office, but it almost felt like it was wobbling a little bit. Like the left front was just a little off, and you would press on it and it would kind of tilt down. But we got in, I had it for like a week, and I went, oh, that's weird. Maybe just the feet are off or whatever. And then we got into max training for WSI, and that took 2 weeks, and that totally took up all my time. And so I was really I just got about a week after training, I got more and more frustrated with it. And I started to realize too that some of the keys in the lower left, the A and the Z near where I thought it was not, sitting properly, were a little extra clicky and sticky. And so I started to think, well, is this thing bent or what's the deal? So I eventually called Apple, and they said, well, I took it back to Best Buy, and they said, well, you're out of your 2 weeks. You can't return it. And I said, well, that's no fun. So I called Apple, and they said, well, you could pack it up and send it to us, or you could take it to a local authorized service place, because there are no Apple stores here. And I was like, well, those are a bummer. So I went back to Best Buy, and I said, please, will you take this back? And they agreed. They thought it was a little wobbly. And so they said yes. And so I took it home and I cleaned it off and everything. And I took it back the next day. I got another one, and it took me another day to unbox it. I pulled it out of the box, and the first thing I checked, that one was wobbling as well.
Oh,
I know.
Ooh.
So it was like a housing deal. And I called Apple back immediately. I said, look, I haven't booted this thing up or anything. Is this something, that is of interest to you? And they said, well, probably not. If it gets to 3 of them, they said we should probably be interested in that. You should take it back to Best Buy. And I went, okay, tried to give you a call. But I went and got a third. So this is my third one, and it's perfect. It lays completely flat. But there was clearly a bad batch where the housing was a little wobbly, which is surprising.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
okay. Well, I'm done. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah.
That was
for stopping by.
Great, boring personal story.
You also
right,
described a problem that can come about because of the battery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because sometimes if the batteries swell a little bit, which they're not supposed to do. Okay.
Right.
Right.
I've had people get the same thing.
All right, here we go. Stay by, and let's listen. Aubrey's here. We got to bring her on here. Hey, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 617. This is the weekly show all about weather. This is for November 13th, 2017. And before we do anything else, I think we have to roll this.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
Aubrey knows what the winner's going to do. So, Aubrey, go.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
No, don't, oh, man. Now, come on. You got to break the news here.
Oh, guys, I am not. Okay, so I started doing a winter forecast years ago because I wanted to learn. 6 years later, I'm still doing it, and now it's a pain in the butt.
So you've learned a very important lesson.
I have.
And by the way,
Aubrey, I want to.
That is a show title, by the way.
All
6 years later, it's a pain in the butt.
So I started the easiest.
So this show's 11 years old.
I started with the easy part is kind of just breaking down the La Nina years or El Nino or neutral or whatever, and the strength of them. So, and I know from past years that weak La Nina winters typically aren't big snow winters for us. And I've noticed our pattern lately with a lot of the Canadian highs coming down. We've seen a little bit more of the cold air damming events of the last couple of weeks. But our pattern from the end of summer into early fall was we would get these sharp blasts of cold air, but they wouldn't last very long. But our pattern didn't favor big coastal storms, big Miller B type storms and things like that. So looking at that, I was talking to a friend of mine who encouraged me to look at hurricane tracks. And of course, coming off of a big hurricane year, looking at years past with high ACE energy and also big hurricane years, I came up with my analog years, compared that to some of Joe Bastardi's analog years, and yay, a few of them actually were the same. So I felt I was in the right direction. Eurasian snow cover is less than this time last year, but it's also higher than average. Looking at that and comparing some analog years, looked at warm Octobers, comparing that to dry summers, and I came up with a whole slew of, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
Go, Aubrey!
No, I'm kidding. I came up with a winter forecast, and it's we'll see. We've done pretty decent, especially with snow, at least getting the general picture. The last couple of years, I've posted compared to some other stations outside, just outside of the Shenandoah Valley. And I don't want to call anyone out, but, you know, I'm going to forecast for my area. I don't know the Pittsburgh, you know, details. I don't know, you know, a lot about Charleston, West Virginia, about their weather patterns, or Norfolk, or, you know, DC's close to us, but still very different. So I, when I do my winter forecast, I keep it close. I don't include any of the surrounding area. So some of those stations who are in the surrounding area who happen to include us have busted it quite a bit in past years. So just to put that out there, you know, if you're looking for your local winter forecast, I encourage you to stay local.
so where have you published this somewhere?
It is airing Thursday. Right now,
Oh,
it's all in here, and it's all in here. And I've got my notes all over the place. It's written. It's half put together. So it's just, with us being down so many, I mean, we have not been full staffed since middle of May. So I am probably about 3 weeks behind in putting this actually out, but we just got up. Our new weekend meteorologist has only been on air for 2 weeks. So I am behind on this, but I've had the idea for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. And then last week I went and changed my mind about 3 or 4 times.
Well, you know, that is the key to a good winter forecast, is to do it after the winter.
Right, exactly. I was thinking about just waiting until February, but apparently they've already got
your accuracy rate goes way higher.
Right? Hey, at least I still have December, January, and February. When
So
winter
did you ever give us? Did you ever get us the winter forecast here?
No, it was a
No.
So I am forecasting below average snow in the Shenandoah Valley. I'm forecasting below 20 inches. I don't want to get into too detailed of that, but I do expect a big lake effect here. The lakes are warmer than average right now, and with a cold, I'm looking at a cold, obviously continuing cold November and a colder than average December, because 2010 was one of my analog years. So I'm looking at some early cold outbreaks that should lead to some big lake effect events, which would put our Allegheny Mountains, I'm looking at over 100 inches of snow for them, probably closer to 100 to 130.
Well, what you going to do on Christmas Day at Brian's house?
You know, let me look at my Facebook wannabe meteorologist page and see what he is calling for. I don't know. Someone asked me today in my class, this was the last class that I taught today out of my fall class, and you know, they asked about a white Christmas. I said, well, if we're looking at maybe a colder than average December, I guess your odds are a little better.
How about Galveston? What about Galveston?
Galveston. I see 3 feet of snow in Galveston's future.
Wow.
That's what we had on last week.
While I watch the cannon.
You know, I got to play my song if you're going to bring this up here. I mean, hang on.
I clean my gun and dream of Galveston.
You know, while we're calling for snow in the south, let's go ahead and call for 3 inches in Florida.
Wow.
What?
Maybe
What?
3 inches in Miami.
Wow.
Oh goodness.
I'm seeing
We've definitely gone up.
6 inches in
That is a
Savannah.
show title, by the way.
Are you working for AccuWeather now? Is that what's going on?
Oh, brother.
I'm just guessing.
all right,
I'm just guessing.
Brian, Peters, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow where you are? Can you handle tomorrow?
I haven't the foggiest idea. I think I expect it to be dry and sort of mild.
Okay.
What's sort of mild this time of year in Alabama? Are we talking 80?
60s.
65, 66.
60. All right.
One thing I've learned, mild means different things to different people. I have learned that.
Yes.
I mean, and here's the thing I see on television that it apparently is the hip thing to do. It's to tell people how to dress. And I really don't know what consultant, Kevin, started this deal. I mean, now that's the hip thing. Everybody is telling everybody else how to dress. Hey, grab those jackets this morning. It's cold. Yeah. Well, so here's my problem. I wear cargo shorts when it's in the 30s. Okay, I wear cargo shorts when I'm out, on the weekend. It doesn't bother me. So don't tell me how to dress. And if it's, like 20 below zero, I know you're supposed to wear a jacket. It's getting to be like the summer heat tip problem we have. Go into an air-conditioned room. Stay out of the sun during the hottest part of the day. This will keep you cool. It's a heat emergency. It's almost getting that way. I mean, I don't know where this is coming from. I mean, if it's raining, bring your galoshes. I don't wear galoshes.
If you're supposed to wear light-colored clothing in the summer, do we have to wear dark-colored clothing in the winter?
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. James, that seminar, that webinar that you were on partially exactly said that we should do that, is tell them the impacts.
I know. So that's what I'm saying.
We should tell them how to dress.
Yeah,
No, but you can say impacts without telling people how to dress.
Yeah, but the better question is not where did that come from, but where did this impact-based thing come from? Where did that start? That started in some dark, shadowy consultant boardroom, and just like tracking, it has gone out and been misinterpreted and escalated and mandated and taken on its own form of life.
Yeah, I don't like people telling me to wear galoshes. I don't like to wear galoshes. I look bad in galoshes. I look like an idiot. Don't tell me to wear galoshes.
Do they still make galoshes?
Here's the other one.
Have you physically heard someone say, "Wear your galoshes tomorrow"?
Yeah. Yes.
That's a
show
title
talks
too.
Like that. Wear galoshes.
and if they don't say that, they'll grab that umbrella before you walk out of the house today because it's going to be raining. So what about us people with no hair that really don't care? I do not want to wear an umbrella. Wow.
My favorite is when you're cross-talking with anchors and they look at you awkwardly and they go, "Bundle up." Every day.
They've been sitting there talking about something other than the weather while you've been doing the weather. That's where that comes from.
James, I just want to know why you think us people with hair care about whether it's raining or not.
Well, I'm just speaking for. I can't speak for you, but I'm speaking for me. I don't, and I've been given many an umbrella by these nice people I speak to over the years. It's marvelous, and thank you. God bless you. I love those, but I give them away. I give them away to people that might use them because I don't use them because I just don't. I mean, I just walk outside in the rain. It doesn't bother me. I mean, there's no issue here. So,
this is the worst start to this program in 11 years.
It is. And for that reason, I'm going to turn over to Bill to bring in our guests before they hang up on us.
Oh, goodness.
Except for Aubrey's part. I'm sorry, Aubrey.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Apparently, I'm always the favorite part when I show up, right?
You are.
There you go. Got to get you on when we got a chance.
Yep.
Guest WeatherBrain number one is a past TV chief meteorologist in Philly and Tucson, other stations across the country. He's the president of the Weather Pros, Rob Gariano. I'm sure I messed that up, Rob.
Oh, that's good. You got it. You got it, Bill.
Welcome to the show. Where are you tonight?
I am in Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse, New York. Get a little snow up there, I guess, huh?
We've got 3 snow events. Most of them were a little slushy, inch or less, but we're looking at a lot of lake effect coming Sunday to Tuesday here. Like 13 to 20, they're calling for it.
So is this kind of your area you call home? Is this where you were?
Here in Orlando, I have a business down in Orlando, non-weather wine bar. So I go back and forth. I'll be down there next week. So whenever it gets bad here, I get out of here and go down there. So I go back and forth.
So are you a Syracuse Orangeman fan?
Yeah, my son and I were at the Clemson game, the big upset. We ran on the field and everything. So
yeah, you kind
cool.
of
had a good memory, two of us.
Gave them a wake up call game there early in the year. Maybe
a lot of fun.
That was an interesting Friday night for sure. So it's a good to have you on the show tonight, Rob. Thank you for joining us. And Dean Davison is who invited us to have this show tonight. He's the snow verification manager for the Weather Pros. Dean, thanks for recommending the show. Thanks for being here tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on.
So, Dean, you are into NWA. You started a local chapter there in the Blue Ridge, right? And
I was one of the people that helped create it. Catherine Prosif, Dan Goff, and then I was kind of the guy with paperwork because I was the past vice president in the Delaware Valley AMS chapter, which, funny enough, Rob was the president 2 of the years I was the vice president.
Well, there's a lot of good things happening with local chapters in the NWA. The National Association is doing a lot of fun things to help local chapters make sure they're in compliance with lots of regulations and things like that. And you've been involved in that process, haven't you?
Absolutely. I've been now for a little bit close to a year, and then in the local chapters committee when they formed that, I was selected for that, and then I've been involved with chapters for well over 10 or 11 years.
Well, it's nice to have you here. So thanks for joining us. So Rob, what are the Weather Pros? Tell us about
Well, we do weather. It's a pretty specialized weather company. Most of our client base is for snowplow companies and landscapers. As you might know, we're getting into a busy time of the year. So we do a text service that gives them very detailed information that you might not find on TV. I did TV about 25 years, and you get limited time on TV. It's pretty broad-based when you have to do weather over a big area. So we'll do road temperatures, salting versus plowing, post-storm snow totals that Dean does so they can bill their customers and include that certified, and slip and falls. So it's a very niche market for us, but it's big money to move snow, and we provide forecasts for about 250, 300 companies across the country, basically east of the Rockies, Midwest and Ohio Valley and east.
So it's not for one local area. This is for a wide area of the country.
Yeah, we cover right now probably about 40 zones, weather zones we call them, anywhere from probably our northernmost would be Portland, south through Virginia down by Dean, and then out west towards Minneapolis, Grand Island, Nebraska, sort of our territory. We kind of think of like a semicircle there in those regions. Most of the areas that get snow will cover. Nothing down south, obviously, past South Carolina and Florida and stuff like that.
Well, snow removal is pretty.
I'm sorry. Who are the clients again?
Most of the clients are snowplow, snow removal companies, and most of them are landscape as well. So we do weather year-round or just for winter for these clients, and it's a very detailed text type of service and on-call 24/7, so they can get in touch with us if they got to move crews and things like that. And basically, we're basically their right-hand man in snowstorms. We're getting them through it, helping us when snow's going to end, and really being on call. So it's a kind of a multi-platform type of weather service. And it really started out of a mistake. I had a big website. We still have it, Live Weather Blogs. And we had so much web traffic to the tune of 5 million pages some months that it kept crashing. And a couple of plow guys in the Philadelphia area said, "Hey, look, I can't get on your site. Can you send me a text or an email and I'll pay you for it?" So that light bulb went off. There's a business opportunity about 6 years ago. And here we are, 250, 300 companies strong and growing every year.
That really is nice to do a niche like that. Are you willing or able to give us some idea of the pricing structure?
It really depends on where it's at and the type of business you have. We base a lot of our pricing on the number of zip codes that you require for us to cover, where Dean would do sort of a post-storm report, and based on how many towns they want covered. So anywhere from probably the lowest end would be $39 a month to up to several hundred or several thousand a month. We have companies that have 600-700 trucks across the country, some of the bigger companies. So it'll really vary for what they need from us. The bigger they have a region, the more work and zones we have. So I'd probably say the lowest range is $39 a month, which would be a couple of trucks that a guy owns and maybe has 2 towns that are close together.
Mm-hmm. And how many forecasters?
We have like 4 now, 2 in the off season, and then we go 4 in the winter. Dean goes full time in the winter, just doing post storm. So we each have a role where Dean just does, when that last flake falls, he does all the verification. So every city that it snows in, he goes out and gives reports via email, and they can put them in their billing. So if you owned a Walmart and it was snowing and we charge you by the inch as the plow company, Dean will send the plow company, "Hey, it snowed 4.3 inches, put this on your billing to Walmart," so they know how much they got and they're not getting ripped off and worry about measuring stuff. So
I've long been fascinated by the niche characteristic of some businesses like this. Do you have other niches that you would target?
Well, we look at roofing. We look at some things outside of that are outside weather related. Most of that has been okay. We really just focus on plowing because we've had such success. So it's kind of like we every year build on that, and then we experiment. We will be looking at roofers next year. and some of those type of industries. But overall, it seems to be the plowing for us and landscaping has been the best market for us and the best growth. But we go to a lot of trade shows related to that.
And Rob, I know that snow removal is a big business because we've had hotels in snow zones, and it's an expense every year that you have to really budget for, because it can get quite expensive before the snow season is over with.
Yeah, and a lot of companies will either bill the Walmarts, if we call it, or a one flat rate for the year. Places like Syracuse here, where it snows 125 plus, they'll just say we'll do that Walmart parking lot for 10,000. I'm making up a figurative number here. Where you Philadelphia, Washington, where it doesn't snow a lot, New York, they will charge by the inch. So there's kind of two ways how plow companies will bill. And yeah, I mean, it can get very expensive. Boston, a few years back when they had that 100 plus, everybody remembers. I mean, a lot of companies that needed plowing basically used 3 years of budget in 1 year, in one season. So it's big money because you got to get it cleared. And if you don't get it cleared, somebody falls, then you're in bigger problems with a lawsuit, and that creates a whole nother problem.
Oh goodness! So Aubrey was talking about her winter forecast. Have you guys started a sneak peek at your thoughts on the winter coming up and the snow forecast across the country?
Yeah, we kind of looked at. I know she was saying 2010. I kind of looked at 1996. There was a weak La Nina, which looks like we're going into in that range somewhere. So I kind of think most of the areas north of Virginia will see a lot of smaller events. But we tell our plow guys that's good money for them because they salt more and they plow more. So I think overall we see smaller events. We're already seeing that in parts of the upper Midwest already. We've already had Minneapolis with 2 or 3 events. Grand Rapids had snow the other day. Syracuse has had 3 small ones. And we think that's going to put the average about 15 or 20% above average for most of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Ohio Valley. I think once you get south of there, where she was saying below average in the Shenandoah Valley and down there, I think he's right. It's going to be a little below average in some of those areas. I think most of the snow is going to sit up north, but you could sneak in a snow or 2 down there once you get down to the Carolinas, a small one, possibly in the heart of winter.
So we need your forecast for Birmingham, Alabama here soon.
We have some clients over in Arkansas next door. We have a big company called Bluegrass, and they have some properties that they work with in Little Rock and Fayetteville. For Alabama, probably an icing event. I see something like that where some cold air sneaks in with some moisture, and then maybe 1 snow event, an inch or so. I think you guys get about an inch this year.
There you go. You heard it here, Brian Peters. We're set for the winter now.
Ice storm of the century is coming, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Everyone
buy your milk and bread now.
Yes, French Toast Fest, as we call it. Bread, milk, and eggs. A big French Toast Fest.
There you go. There you go. So
One of my favorites.
Dean, your job is snow verification. That's interesting. And talk about how you do that.
Well, a lot of companies do things differently. They, use one base guideline, usually use the public information statements from the Weather Service. Not to say that they're not good, but there's a lot more that goes into going down to zip codes. Found that Coco Ross is a very good program for finding. You can do the precipitation, and I also use Weather Radar. When it gets really complicated, I'll go to a Weather Service office and use that Weather Radar just so I can get really detailed information for some of these really hard events. But we do a triple verification system at least 3 ways with Coco Ross, the public information statements, and the radar. And then, we can get into using Mesonet data to look at what the ratios are and things of that matter. So very detailed. And we get to, as soon as stuff starts popping in, I start popping them out to the customers, and they seem very happy with the very good accuracy and also the speed, because they like billing pretty quick.
Yeah.
Now, accuracy is important because, there's a lot of people that will look at the PNSs, and as a spotter for 25 years, I know that not everybody knows how to measure snow properly. So, you have to use that, but use it as a grain of salt, because the Coco Ross people are a little more detailed on how to measure snow, and then the radar really helps add all the equations together. So those 3 things are the main things we use. Like I said, ice, we'll give them ice totals, which we're talking about ice storms. I think Virginia's in for a pretty good ice storm this year. think we're gonna have a good snowstorm, but I think we're gonna have one really good ice storm up through here.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's how we do the verifications. And like Rob said, actually, it was interesting how I got involved in the company also with live weather blogs. 10 years ago in December, me and Rob were talking, and I started writing for him, and then it got progressively better from there. So that's where that all came from. And 10 years later, we're sitting here with a good company, and I'm enjoying myself forecasting and doing my job.
So are y'all still doing live weather blogs at this point, or
Yeah, it's a smaller version of it. I think social media has kind of changed things. You know, I always equated to back in the day, some of us older folks, where you had to get off the couch to change the TV. And that's kind of like Facebook with blogs now. A lot of times people don't want to get off Facebook to go click into a blog. They want it right on their feed. So I've noticed social media has changed somewhat the traffic we get. We also don't put as much in there because we now give the private clients that information. And obviously, if we were writing it all out in a blog, why would they use our service, right? So, you know, it's changed our site, and some of it is the social media side. Some of it's because we spend more time in the private sector, which is where we have to make a living, put food on the table. So the site's there. Yeah, it's still there. We do some outlooks and things. It's just not as busy as it was. And like I said, I contributed probably to those two things, just the nature of the industry right now.
And I'll do an audio blog at least once a week that I put up on our Facebook page. I cover usually the East Coast from where I live in Virginia up through the Delaware Valley, which is where everything started with live weather blogs and kind of expanded from there. But yeah, a lot of stuff, like you said, with social media, you know, I'll put it out on my social media page. Personally, I put it out on the live weather blogs page. We'll put stuff out on the Weather Pros page. But like he said, we have to, you know, the clients get stuff first, and then we can give the stuff to the public, because obviously this is a business. But I gotta say, you know, all the years of live weather blogs, it really, second and third year into it, it really boomed. And then like with social media taking off, social media is really the place where we've directed a lot of our live weather blogs information to. Hey, go to our Facebook page, and you'll get an update there a lot quicker than you will if you go to the site. But we still use the site.
So I always laugh when I think about snow removal. I think about my favorite Simpsons episode of all time, which was the one with Mr. Plow and the Plow King. And I know you've probably watched that episode somewhere along the way, but that's my favorite episode of all time. and Homer's jingle, "Call Mr. Plow, that's my name." The name again is Mr. Plow.
That's it. They'll do it. That was a good skit. And you know, it's interesting when Dean was talking about the verifications. When you look at places like Philadelphia or New York or even Washington, a lot of contracts written at these malls or Walmarts or, you know, Kmart's, wherever, these commercial lots, because we mostly do weather for commercial, not really residential snowplow movers. So they'll maybe have a range that says 1 to 3 inches, you pay $1,000. You know, 3.1 inches to 5 is another 2,000. So that critical 10th of an inch either pushes them over to the next group, and these people paying want to have that very accurate, because that changes their budget and what they're going to pay to the plow company. So, you know, you can see a difference in price from a, you know, 2.9 inches versus a 3.1. So this is why when Dean mentions the methods, it's so critical to have the numbers very accurate, because the customers stay happy. The plow company is happy with you because you're giving them very valid information, and they re-sign the next year. And then we do also some slip and fall cases. We don't have too many. A lot of people with fraud, they say they fell and it was 52 degrees out, you know, in the snow, and it really happened. Jersey's a tough market because there's a lot of scammers. So Dean and I will do some raw data. Dean will look that up and say, well, you know, looking at this, we don't know when you exactly salted, but looking at these conditions, this person couldn't have, you know, fallen on the ice. They're making it up, or at least we have data to show that maybe this is not a right case. So we also do that in our weather package, besides the text alerts and the snowfall.
And even on top of that, salt only works to a certain degree temperature.
Yeah.
Most salts after 22 degrees or lower doesn't work. So heck, if somebody actually sits there and falls and it's 18 degrees outside, well, the plow drivers did their job and they salted, but you know, you can't help that it's below that temperature on the asphalt, and the person fell because they're being careless out in the middle of it being in the teens. They did their job. They can prove they did their job. We can prove the temperatures through mesonet data, and that's how that works. I mean, it makes it very easy, and the towns, most towns have at least one mesonet in their town, and if there's multiple ones, I look at multiple.
And
So,
and interesting enough that with these snowfall totals too, in this report Dean mentioned, you know, these plow companies have to be very careful and make sure they do their job, because if it's negligence where they didn't do it, you know, they get sued and then their rates go up. It's like car insurance. If you get in a bunch of accidents, your rates are going to go up. Well, it's the same thing with them to have liability insurance. If they continually have claims and they were losing those claims, their rates go up. So it's an interesting business to be in. And unfortunately for them, for years to come, it used to be if you slip and fall at a department store, they could only sue the mall or that department store. Now, in most states, you can sue the store and the plow company. So it's even more important for us to, you know, give them that raw data and work with it. We'll go into court. Most of the stuff is settled out of court, cases like that with medical bills. But that's an important part of a plowing company too in the winter, is to make sure that they're getting their stuff out and people aren't trying to either scam them or they don't make a mistake. So this is all we do that's very different than just a regular, you know, National Weather Service forecast or, you know, an app.
Yeah, I had no idea all this went into it. This is really amazing. So
Yeah.
I think we were mostly dealing with flat fee type arrangements. So the snow verification process is quite interesting to me. Talk for a second, Dean, about the proper way to measure snow.
well, you want to first of all, you don't want to be in the middle of a drift, so you don't want to be where the snow is blown. You want to be out in an area that's open. You want to measure in 3 different locations, and you take the average of the 3 locations. Obviously, that's the way that you get taught correctly to do that. You can also, if you have a expensive rain gauge, you know, the meltdown, you can do the calculations for water equivalent. But the proper way for anybody to do it is to get in an area where it's non-drifting. And I use a snowboard. I put a board out, and that's how I measure my snow. And I have the little flag sitting up, and I go out there and I measure in 3 spots on the snowboard. And they're usually pretty much the same, but that's the easiest way to measure any kind of snow. Ice is a little more tricky. I mean, you take a tree branch and you take a really good fine ruler and you look at it and see how much ice accumulated on those trees. Because it's kind of hard to do to find out how much is on the ground, because usually your elevated surface get it first. So that's how we measure snow, and you're supposed to measure snow.
So Rob, how much of your process is automated now? I mean, are you pulling in weather service data or model data, or you know what are you? I know you can't go too far into how the sauce is made, but
not as much as you think. You know, the texting service is great because we have so many phone numbers. You know, think about a company that has 100 trucks. They might get 25 or 50, you know, texts to those numbers for drivers or managers. So that automated side is good because we have weather zones. But as far as the model data, you know, myself and Dean and Jared and a couple other guys in our company will really go through these forecasts with the models and looking at the trending. And Dean's automation is somewhat with emails and his stuff, but a lot of our stuff is still pretty much, you know, customized because that's what the client wants. You know, there's still automation there, but I don't think it's as much as people think because of the niche that we're doing for each client or each region. So, you know, some of the automation is in the way we get it delivered through a text service. So I'm not sitting on my iPhone sending all these texts out to these, you know, thousands of numbers. They're in groups and they're by companies and they're by regions. So that side's automated. But I think the forecasting still is pretty much done on the human side, you know.
So do you actually text to the snowplow drivers themselves for the companies, or do they?
Yeah, the client in the
number?
beginning of the season will give us a number of numbers, and that's how we base some of the pricing, because we have to pay the text service 3 cents a text to send them out. So we have a budget for that. So if they want more numbers, we have to charge them more money, obviously, because they're getting it. So they give us the names and who they might be, and then we give that group the text or the region, so forth. So, and some will drop ad through the year, but it's really based on what the customer wants, how many people in his company he wants to get the text. Some of them he'll copy and paste himself, but some of them he wants directly to go in so he doesn't have to worry about it if he's sleeping in the middle of the night.
And they'll come back and they'll ask us questions. They'll call us. I mean, we are personalized to these clients.
Yeah.
That's why they love us so much. I mean, on that text service, they could text us back and say, when do you think it's going to end? If it's getting close to the ending time, you know, we also do updates multiple times during storms to update them on what time it's going to stop. You know, if there's going to be wind, recovering the roads, the temperature of the ice of the roads versus the grass, because that's a huge thing for a snowplow company, because grass doesn't really matter as much as the roads. And I mean, it's so good out there with data. You can get so much data from so many different sources for stuff like that. It's especially these VDOT and DOT. And Rob was talking about commercial. We also have some townships that actually
A lot of townships.
Townships. So we use, you know, whole towns utilize our service, and some towns actually have done it where in the off season where, you know, it'll flood, you get coastal flooding. We have to send out coastal flood alerts based on how much water is going to come up into that area. So it gets tricky, especially like in New Jersey or Boston, where there's a fine line and we have to fine tune the forecast to each region. But when it all comes done, I'll do a forecast, like I'll do maybe the beginning of forecasting session, and then I'll have a shift off to get ready for that huge incoming amount of people that I'm going to have to send the information out to in the post-storm verification. So we all work together and cover each other. If we're sick, a few of us have done it out of the hospital. We've texted people out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Me and Rob both did it like 2 years ago.
If we got a phone or a computer, we'll do it.
Exactly. We both were sitting in the hospital with different things, respiratory. I think one was respiratory, one was gallstones or something. And we were sitting there sending information out to our clients. We're in it to help the clients, and that's our main thing.
So how far out are you trying to forecast for your clients?
For clients right now, what we do is typically a 7-day outlook. So every day a client will get something in the morning, no matter what's going on. Big high pressure sitting over for 5 days of sunny skies. They'll still get something every morning. It's about the same time, between about 7 and 8 in the morning. Some of them want it at 6. Some don't want to get up, wake up. They don't want to be woken up with a text. It depends on the clients. And then what we'll do this time of year now, what we're doing is a 7-day outlook, and then we go to another 10 beyond that, which gives them a general idea of what we're looking at. You know, maybe there's a snow period in this range or a possible mix. And it gives them an idea when a lot of their employees are part-time. If they can look into the future, or somebody wants some days off, they can kind of see where they're going with that. Like right now, we talked to the Syracuse clients the last few days and said, you know, you might not have all the plows on yet, which most of them do up here. But Chicago got caught off guard the other day. We gave them a 3-day notice that there was going to be some lake effect, which is kind of weird for them to get lake effect. They don't get it that often. It comes in out of a northeast wind in Chicago, right there on the lakeshore. And they got about an inch, and nobody had the salters on yet. And they were scrambling, and we gave them 3 days notice. So stuff like that, you know, helps them a lot, particularly in the beginning season when they're trying to strap on the plows and the salters. This is a tricky time of year for these guys because they're still in cleanup mode from the fall. So once they get everything on, the forecasts are always critical and important, but the first few are tough when they have to salt and they're not ready for it, because then they're really scrambling. They don't have enough manpower and trucks. Some of their employees right now that are part-time seasonal are not even working yet. You know, they're going to start maybe in a couple of weeks.
So Rob, do you miss television?
I freelance. I be honest with you, I like not wearing a suit every day. I like taking this laptop that I'm talking to you on and being on the beach in Florida. I do the weather from Florida sometimes. I will next week. I like that freedom, and I like having control of owning my own company. And, you know, we go to a lot of trade shows. So I miss it on occasion, but not as much as I thought I would. I've been doing this now for 6 years, probably been out of TV for 4 years now, full time. I still do fill-ins here and there for markets, Baltimore, Phoenix, if they need somebody on maternity leave and all. But I really like the art of forecasting, and I think the art of growing, or the challenge of growing the company, is always fun. And, you know, I don't want to get too big. I mean, you know, we've got our crew, Dean, Jared, and the crew, and we can grow even more because of the regions we're in. As long as we keep clients in the same region, the Phillies, the New Yorks, or the Minneapolises. We cover a lot of big cities. We can grow because those areas sometimes get the same forecast. Something that's a mile away is going to get the same forecast. It's just a different plow company. So I like it a lot. I mean, you know, I'm kind of past the TV stage. I think it was great while I was there. It's changed quite a bit. I think the pay isn't as much. It's just because people are more using their phones. There's a lot of changes in television. Nothing against it. I did it and enjoyed it. I think when your contract comes up, sometimes you're out. You know, it bases on the manager, the demographics, however they want to do it. So I have a little more control of where I go now, you know, as far as the career.
Yeah, no question about it. So you alluded to the changes in television. Comment further on what's going on in the industry right now, what you think the future holds.
Well, I think, you know, the social media, you see, I know when I was in Arizona, the last full-time job I had, we had to do a lot of blogging, which was fine. I did blogging way back in the days at Fox in Philly, but you have a lot more, you know, updated stuff with Facebook and this and that, and you get bogged down in a lot of that, which I think takes away sometimes from some of your forecasting and things you can do. I think TV's okay. I think everybody wants it now and they get it on their phone. They don't want to wait till 11 o'clock or 6. So I think that's where the older generations will continue to watch TV, but the younger people, if you ask anybody under 25, even 30, you ask them where they get the news from, they're going to tell you it's probably from their phone or their laptop, most of them. So you have to adjust with that. Most TV stations are now making money off their websites with the weather on there. There's a lot of advertising. You go on there and there's a good rate. It's called CPM, clicks per thousand, because we do that with our websites. And every ad that's seen on those websites makes money for the TV station. You can see they pop up on you and whatever. So I think TV stations, their social media and their websites now make money probably pretty well for some of them. And that offsets the TV loss of viewership. So I think that's going to continue, but I think it'll level off somewhere.
So James Spann, anything you want to ask Rob or Dean?
How long did you work in TV, Rob?
Probably 20, let's see, probably starting anyone, about 22 years.
What was your best experience, best station?
Believe it or not, I would say Philly was great, but I loved when I started in Syracuse because it was just seems we were young and we had more fun back in the first market, which was Syracuse. And we were the superstars because we got so much lake effect. So we got, you know, a lot of headlines many nights when it snowed there. And Syracuse was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm back up here again because my kids live up here. But Syracuse, Philly was great. We had a lot of big storms. I got to go to a lot of football games and do sideline coverage up in the helicopter. New Mexico, I got to do a lot of neat stuff as a reporter and go all over the state and see a beautiful New Mexico. Arizona, it was how many times can you use the word sunny in adjectives to describe it? So each market was interesting for me, but Philly and Syracuse probably the two favorite cities there.
So you got some young people that are looking to have a career in meteorology, and they hear all the talk of the television decline and everybody gets weather on the phone now. What would you advise, let's say, a high school senior that's about to go off to college and major in meteorology? What would you advise them on what to do about a career?
I think if you're going to do this career, for me, I think you've got to be what's called multimedia. I think you really should know how to write blogs. I think you should also know how to run a small business like I'm doing. I think you have to stay diverse because the TV side of things, what I learned was nothing's a guarantee after your contract. And some of this isn't even your own fault. You'll ask a lot of TV people, there's management changes, there's this change, there's that change, there's money changes. So I always hone your craft on being, one, a good accurate forecaster. That's where it starts. You want to be a good forecaster because without that, whether you're on TV or you're writing blogs or you're running a weather company, you're just not going to get business. Because you have to tell people outside of television, why would I pay for weather when I can get it for free? That's one thing about being accurate and being very available to the client. So I would say to these kids coming out of high school or college, make yourself multimedia. And what I mean by that is learn how to write blogs, learn how to do weather stand-ups yourself, live shots, working your camera, learn how to forecast for particular clients, and learn how to deal with the public when they get mad at you. A lot of people take it personally, but we're never going to be right for everybody. So I think the more diverse you are in the way you can spin your craft going into the years coming up, you're going to be more successful. Because what I did was I went from the TV side, which is very different than this side. And not everybody can do that, but I wound up doing it and got lucky and kind of worked with it. And it wasn't easy, though. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. And, the more clients you get, there's headaches with that, but also you have made it over the hump as far as hiring people to help you with those things. So I would say, in general, just be multi-talented, if you will, as far as getting into weather.
And for you guys, who's your biggest competitor now? Is it a big boy like AccuWeather, or who do you compete against in this space?
I would say for us here in this area would be WeatherWorks out of Jersey. AccuWeather is there. They're a little different, but they get much bigger contracts. We're starting to get some of those bigger ones, but we're kind of still, most of our clients are guys that are 10 trucks or under. They're easy to get a decision with and get paid, where the bigger guys in the townships, it's a little more red tape, a little more bidding. We might not have the manpower for some of those. So probably a WeatherWorks is a competitor out of New Jersey, because their market reach is pretty much the same as ours. New York and Philly are our two biggest markets in the country.
And where do you go from here? Where do you want to be in 10 years?
I would say in 10 years, we want to be a company that's, probably 1,000 customers, maybe 10 employees or less. I see that. That's kind of where I want to be. Do more studio stuff and create our own weather studio, and do media, but through the internet, kind of like our own TV studio.
And would that be national or local when you do that?
I think it's going to depend on the clients we get, and some of them are going to want those videos. It'd probably be national, but broken down into regions. So you'd have little broadcasts, kind of like what AccuWeather does now, I believe and Weather Nation, something like that.
And tell me about your relationship with the National Weather Service. How do you view them and their products and services? Do you use them? What's your relationship with NOAA?
Well, I thought this was interesting the other day. The local station here, and I hadn't heard about this, and you guys all jump in if you heard this. I heard they're getting rid of the general, the terminology of the storms and things, and they're going to be very broad, like freezing rain advisory, a blizzard warning or watch is all going to be under winter weather watch.
It's going to be that's the HAZSIMP, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Eli Jackson
hazardous simplification.
in a few weeks, and he's going to be talking about that. That is one of the things, Rob, that they did.
I don't know if I like that, because I think it's going to confuse people. I know when I hear freezing rain advisory, and take me out of the mix of being a meteorologist, I know it's going to be icy and slippery. If I hear just winter weather watch, I don't know if that means snow, if that means a blizzard. I don't know why. I would have left it to see what it is. I mean, you're given the type of weather. That's just me. But I just heard a brief story the other day, and I don't know much more about it, so I don't want to, give information that I don't know. But I like it the way it is. I don't think there was a problem with it.
And I could jump in here and add severe weather to this, because that's actually where I'm very much. I love severe weather. It's something I'm very much into. I've chased. So has Rob. If you go on the Weather Pros website and go back into when Hurricane Irma hit, they actually, Jarrett and Rob were down in the path of it. But I did a paper or a thing at the National Weather Association on the derecho that came through in 2012. And the biggest thing is, when I asked people, because there was much to do down where I was at in Lynchburg, in that area where trees were all knocked over, the power was out for days. So when I basically asked people to do a survey, and the thing is, they don't think the severe thunderstorm warning is enough. Like, people don't pay attention to that. Now, if you put that under the tornado warning category, people would pay more attention to it. And we kind of have to get into the idea of maybe an enhanced severe thunderstorm warning, something like a particularly dangerous situation type of warning for the derecho type of events, because people actually listen to that particularly dangerous situation rather than listening to a severe thunderstorm warning. And that is something that needs to be, that I've talked to the Weather Service about. I mean, I've helped the Weather Service when I was in the Mount Holly area, when I was in New Jersey, and I come down here, and basically, if there's a potential for tornado in the area that I'm in, which don't have very good emergency management, I go out, take pictures and video, send it back to the Weather Service, and they'll send their people out if they think it's a tornado to write, their reports to do the surveys. So I've helped out confirm one tornado this year in Virginia, in Manita. I live east of Roanoke, so on how you look at it, simplification sometimes is not the best idea to do.
I wish I could pull up the periodic chart of weather watches, warnings, and advisories. I have used that in talks, and it's bewildering. I've been doing this for 39 years, and I don't even know what half that stuff means. I will say there has to be some move to simplify this, because people are just overwhelmed by the terms and all this stuff, especially with winter weather. And but you're right that there's got to be a happy medium somewhere, and this gets into social science. And the one thing we have learned, at least I have learned, I might be pretty good at physical science, but I don't know much about social science. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming into play now, and that's getting a lot of play in the weather enterprises, integrating social science with physical science and improving the warning process. But we don't have a lot of experience with winter storms down here. That's you guys niche up there in the great white north.
There is one new product, Rob, that's going to be interesting, is this new snow squall warning that they're going to do in 7, 8, 10 offices in the eastern region. It'll be a snow squall warning, which is a short fuse polygon based process that'll actually trigger on the WEA. So that's going to
we actually need that in Virginia.
You get the burst with the cold fronts that people in the Northeast, that is a good one, actually, because we've had numerous times where we've had to call plow companies and say, look, you're going to see this thing change very quickly. It's going to ice over. Pre-salt. Pre-salt is such a big term in the snow plow industry and weather industry, because if they can pre-salt that before that squall hits, when it hits that salt, and typically most of the squalls, it's not dropping down to 15, it's just dropping through a cold front. They've already now eliminated somebody falling coming out of the store because the snow melted right on that salt on the contact. So yeah, I mean, I think a snow squall warning thing would be good to try. Up here in lake effect country, that's just a day in the office when we get snow squall warning here. We're gonna get plenty of those starting Sunday.
One of the hardest places to forecast too is up that snow squall.
What's that, Dean?
Up in the lake effect, that's one of the hardest places to forecast.
Yeah,
and do verifications.
I think the biggest deal is that you have areas that basically will go 10 miles from here. You go north of Syracuse 20 miles, and there's a huge difference. 10 miles, 5 miles. My kids live about 4 miles away from me, and they miss snow altogether sometimes, and I'm sitting in a foot of snow. So it's a very thin cigar-shaped type of line of snow, and it is tricky up here because one little shift in the wind, 270 degrees versus 272, and your town gets missed. So it is really tricky up here. And the clients we have up here, we call it babysitting, snow babysitting. It's a little term that we made up because there's so much nickel and dime snow here, 1 inch, 2 inch, 5 inch, 12 inches, that you're constantly updating up here. We don't like doing weather up here because it's a lot of hard work, but you take business as it is,
That's why you're paid the big bucks.
Exactly.
So one more, do you guys dabble in social media at all? The Twitter, the face bag, all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
we do. I think Dean will tell you also. We use it as a gateway to our products. We do a lot of marketing with social media and all these private plow groups. So there's a plow group called Snow Plow Mafia, and that might have 27,000 people in it right now. And we'll give weather information, but also advertise our product. One of the things we do is the tech service we give away for 7 or 10 days, depending on the time of year, where a client can try it for 7 days on their phone every day and then sign up. And that's a great marketing move for us because they get to see it every morning and they get feel for it. A week later, they're like, wow, I really like this. I got used to it. And then we say, do you want to buy it now? So we do most of our clients we get are through social media in these groups. And, as long as you can give content, you're not really making it look like an advertisement. You can sneak it in there and say, try us out for free, but you're also giving them maybe a La Nina update or something coming down the road. So, yeah, I would probably say 80% of our clients we get now are from social media, probably another 10% from referrals and another 10% from trade shows, somewhere in that range.
And let's say somebody wants to go into business. Somebody wants to run a small business like yours involving weather. What's a good word of advice for them?
Well, I think the word of advice is be patient. You're not going to grow immediately and explode onto the scene. This was built over 6 or 7 years. And what I was lucky is I actually started this while I was doing TV. So your back isn't against the wall, but this is your only income. And that's what I would advise. If you're going to do this, have a part-time job or another job. Dean works another job in the off season in the summer because we don't have as much work. So, take something that you're doing now, but then start this slowly and let it build on itself. And then when it gets big enough, you walk away from that other job and you get to do what you love. I mean, I've loved this since I was 8. I'm having a blast. So I would say starting this industry, you have to be patient. You have to be very tenacious. You have to be very crafty, know the social media, get the people to try your product out. And, we've had success, but, like I said, it took time. It didn't just happen overnight.
Awesome. So before we let you guys go, you've been here for an hour, and thank you so much. What's the best way to get in touch with you guys? Plug away. This is your free plug-a-rama here. Go.
Well, if you're in that industry where you need forecasts, the best way to do it is to go to theweatherpros.com, and right on there is a quick free trial. You ask a few questions, where your company is, how many trucks you have, where you're at, then we'll get back to you and offer you a free trial. Dean at the Weather Pros. He's our, like I said, our backup forecaster and our main snowfalls guy. And then mine's Rob at the Weather Pros. But go to the website. It's right on the front page, and you can sign up for a free trial if you're in this type of industry.
And let's make it perfectly clear. It's theweatherpros.com. I went to weatherpros.com, and it is for sale, by the way, guys.
Yes.
I mean, you can own that domain for.
Yeah, I don't know what that's running these days, but yeah, the Weather Pros.
Yeah, it says need a price instantly. Give us a call right now. Let's got a scam here or something. But guys, thank you all so much for being on the show this week. It was a great topic. We enjoyed having you guys, and thanks a lot for giving us an hour of your time. We sure appreciate it.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate coming on anytime.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Dean. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks a lot, guys. We are going to take a quick break here, and we're going to roll Professor Peters with WeatherBrains 101. We've got Tony Rice in the Astronomy Report. We'll come back with the Weather Roundup, Picks of the Week, and much more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
WeatherBrains 101 with Professor Peters.
On my recent cruise from Mobile, Alabama to the Yucatan Peninsula, I was enthralled to see numerous clouds in the tropical environment. Two of those in particular were my favorites, high cirrus clouds and some lower cumulus clouds. Traveling on the beautiful deep blue Gulf of Mexico with those puffy white, almost cotton ball looking clouds, I wondered just how much one of those clouds might weigh. Were they heavy due to the moisture content, or very light as their floating, almost weightless appearance suggested? Clouds float in the sky since they are less dense than the air that supports them. Clouds are made up of tiny water droplets that form when the temperature becomes too cold for the air to hold the moisture as water vapor. The density of a cloud depends largely on the type of cloud, and for cumulus clouds, the density has been estimated to be about 0.5 grams in a cubic meter. Now, those fibrous cirrus clouds may have a lower density, while a well-developed cumulonimbus cloud may have a higher density due to the moisture packed by updrafts in the storm. So just how big is a typical cumulus cloud? Well, it's possible to estimate the horizontal dimension of a cloud by driving through its shadow. A fairly typical cloud is about 1 kilometer across or 1,000 meters. Now, those puffy white clouds are often about as tall and wide as they are long. So we can calculate the volume as 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters for our estimate and arrive at 1 billion cubic meters. Now, density is defined as the mass, the number we want, divided by the volume. So plugging in our numbers and solving for mass, our sample cloud weighs 500 million grams. Converting that number to pound, you arrive at 1.1 million pounds. Wow, those fluffy white cotton ball looking clouds are actually pretty heavy. Thinking of this another way, that cumulus cloud weighs the equivalent of about 270 automobiles, using a value of about 4,000 pounds for each car, a number taken from the estimates by EPA. So the next time you look into the sky and see one of those fluffy white billowy clouds taking on the shape of a dragon, duck, or mouse, it may be a lot heavier than you think. If you have a question about the weather, drop an email to question@weatherbrains.com.
astronomy.com.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your Astronomy Outlook.
This past week, conspiracy theorists, chemtrail spotters, and especially flat earthers converged on Cary, North Carolina for the first flat earth. Produced by a marketing company in Edmonton, Alberta, tickets range from the $109 early bird pass to the $249 VIP pass, which also included front row seats. All these tickets sold out ahead of the event. Sadly, my paper, titled, "You're Right, the Earth Isn't Round, It's an Oblate Spheroid," was not accepted. Talks that did go on included NASA and other space lies, flat Earth with the scientific method, and waking up to the mainstream science lies. As you might expect, local media had a bit of fun with the convention, but directly engaging those devoted to doubting science doesn't have a very good track record on changing minds. But it's still a good reminder to the rest of us to continue talking about even the most accepted science. Yes, Earth, like many other planets in our solar system, is an oblate spheroid. Now that's a sphere that is just a little bit squashed. Earth is about 26 miles larger in diameter when measured through the equator, as opposed to the poles. Mars is slightly more oblate, and those other two rocky planets, Mercury and Venus, they're not oblate at all, but are closer to perfect spheres, if you ignore topography. Pluto is similarly spherical. Now moving out to the gas giants, they're very oblate, with Saturn having the highest degree. More than 3,600 miles greater diameter at the equator, thanks to that incredible rotational velocity. A Saturn day is only about 10.5 hours. Also, all those moons and rings have a bit of a gravitational effect right around the equator as well. You can see the oblateness of Earth for yourself in full disk satellite images, such as those from GOES 16, but you got to be looking at a high resolution one. That's because the oblateness of Earth, or the ratio to the polar, or the ratio of equatorial and polar diameter measurements, is only 0.00335. Once you reach images of Earth exceeding 5,000 pixels across, that polar measurement starts to be reduced by a pixel. That's your Astronomy Outlook. Follow me at R2P Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
All right, let's see if by chance Aubrey just might have a little email for us.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
Hi, guys. I do have some letters. Our first one is from our good friend Tarmo.
Yeah,
Tarmo comes to us from Estonia, if you are not familiar. So Tarmo says, I'm not as technical as he is, so I'm going to try and do this justice. Tarmo is on one of the fields somewhat active in web development, and recently have been bringing myself up to date with the latest and greatest web technologies, and noticed something called progressive web apps. Basically, web pages that are being designed like an app, but they can be installed onto a phone, giving the app experience. So basically tying in how we talked about the National Weather Service that doesn't have their own app, but since this is a web technology, they could spice up their mobile web page and all this stuff, I guess, using this. So if you use a recent Chrome browser and the criterias are not met on the website, let's see. It takes some work to get everything running. I don't know if anyone else has read this, but is this something that we do on our own, or is this something that NWS would have to do through the app, through this page?
All I know is we need
sorry,
to,
I thought
we
it
need
was
to
written in
send,
Estonian, so I stopped reading.
he needs to send us some audio. That's what he needs to do.
He lost me at progressive.
I am not as tech savvy as Tarmo, so he is obviously definitely better than that. So I'll have to read that. It's a hacks.mozilla.
Basically, it's kind of taking web page and
Right.
making it into an app, but it's still a web page, but it looks like an app.
Okay. I mean, it's close.
But it's not an app. See,
But it's not an app.
That's the loophole that I think Tarmo was writing about.
Yes. So I don't know if that would work for NWS. I guess we could try it and see.
They can try it.
They can try it and see. All right, so this one comes in from James Deese. I love WeatherBrains so much, and I get so happy when I see it every night on YouTube. I listen to the pre-show mostly as a joke. Later on the pre-show, I tell them to all my friends and family, oh, James, that's probably not a good idea. I listen to WeatherBrains at school when I'm about to go to bed, while I'm working, and more. James has such funny topics to talk about. I fall on the floor laughing. James, I am so glad you are so entertained by all of this.
There you go. Yes, we are here to serve you.
So hopefully we can continue to have more pre-shows with outrageous, boring personal stories and humorous anecdotes from a weather geek in Columbia, South Carolina. Span on.
Yeah, baby.
Span
Pre-show.
on. Awesome. And then Tony Rice sent us a Facebook page from Ed Petrosky's, which is get off the TV. If someone dies, it's their fault, would be one of the quotes from this Facebook page. And we talk about this all the time, how when there is a specific warning, tornado warning on, and our faithful local meteorologists go on air trying to save people's lives, there is someone out there that says, get off the TV. If someone dies, it's their fault. And I hope your TV station gets hit and you're in it. Put the Good Doctor back on. Which is very sad. I don't even know what the Good Doctor is.
It's a TV show.
It's a show that's on Monday nights, or it used to be. I don't know if it's in fact it should be on right now as we're doing the show, but it's got a lot of people that watch it. I don't watch television. I don't have time, but we like it because our 10 o'clock news numbers skyrocket when that show is on. But it's a very popular ABC primetime show. And I think Ed had to cut it off through a tornado warning.
And you know what? Good for him, because obviously some lives were in danger. So it's really sad to see so many meteorologists having to post testimonials like this after such an event, to almost explain themselves when they don't have to explain themselves. And that's the world we live in, because we have wonderful social media and the Facebook all over the place. All right, so this one's from Stephen Glazer. Greetings all. I'm suggesting a guest for your show, my wife, Corinne Jerome, possibly biased. I think she'd be a good interviewee for the show about careers. We work together at Weather Nation, where she's director of weather operations. It's a role she has created at the company, and I think it would be some good insight for students thinking about careers in meteorology, as she used to be a chief met in TV and did the switch out this year. Thanks for your show. Enjoy listening. So that's from Steve Glazer. I will send a hint over to our guest booking officer.
I just booked him. They're on next week.
Perfect. Then they are all booked, and that is what I have. Yeah. Can't ask for anything better than that. So I may have missed some emails because I haven't even gone through today's emails yet. So that's how far behind I am. So if you have an email, go ahead and send it to email@weatherbrains.com. Love to hear your guest suggestions with some contact information. That would be wonderful. What you like, what you don't like about the show. And if you have any great topics, some show topics, we'd love to hear that too.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink, by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
Let's do a weather roundup here. This is November 13th, 2017, and boy, Kevin has been animated. I've been watching his video. Have you guys been watching Kevin? I mean, a minute ago, he had his hand going around in a circle, and he had both of his hands going up like touchdown. I mean, he is really chewing somebody out there. I mean, that's awesome. If only we had his audio working. All right, so Aubrey, what's happening in Harrisonburg, Virginia?
Oh, we're kind of cool. We're quiet. It's definitely a shock coming off such a nice, warm October, going into such a cool November. And we're actually kind of around average. So it's just, it's just been cool. It's been kind of quiet. We're officially out of our drought. We'll see if that continues into the winter. But yeah, so finalizing the winter forecast. But I have to agree with what the guys were saying, and I kind of alluded to it with the cold air damming situations that have been kind of setting up that, could be leading to more ice events, or at least a better chance of some icing events this year. I definitely think that that would be a decent probability. And we haven't probably had a good icing event in maybe 4 years, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, I think they're right. I think we could see a better chance of an icing event this year with some of those smaller clipper and smaller type storms getting ready for that. And yeah, it's a little cool out here. Our foliage, it's really interesting. Our foliage is still hanging on at the last moment. And last weekend, we had just an incredible weekend of the brilliant crimsons, deep reds and oranges that were just absolutely spectacular. I've never seen such, it was late color, but it was so vibrant late color. It was really, really pretty, especially last weekend.
Awesome. Yeah. I again, your Twitter feed is a must follow.
Thank you.
Year round, but especially in the fall when these colors are out. It's just stunning. I'll just sit back and see some of those pictures you're sharing, and it's just unbelievable how good it is. And you are at the epicenter of the greatest fall color in this country. So
I have a list of great hikes and places to go in the fall, and I think I've been to like 5 of them this year. I never got to even half because there are just so many, so amazing places.
Wow. All right. So down here in the deep south, things are quiet. I was going to do a quick screen share because look what in the world we have here. We have a severe weather potential. This is
Saturday?
This is actually Friday. Day 5, which is Friday. We got a risk of severe weather from northeastern Texas up to near Chicago and Indianapolis. And some of the cities in that risk would include Little Rock, Memphis, St. Louis, and we'll see how that plays out. But this is a reminder for many. This is the late fall tornado season. And again, that should usher in much colder air as that cold front moves on to the east. And we've seen some evidence, just maybe, parts of the deep south and maybe parts of the east will be kind of cold for Thanksgiving Day and Black Friday. But I guess it doesn't matter. People don't get up and go to the malls anymore, do they? Like at 3 a.m. or something. They just.
I hope not.
They wait for Cyber Monday.
Well, I think that, it's like now
but they say that the better deals are like in Memorial Day and Labor Day now. It's not even worth waiting until.
Wow. Well, I'm seeing now where a lot of these big box people just open up on Thanksgiving anyway. And I think most people just go to Amazon or, whatever.com and order that way. So times are changing. They certainly are. But again, down here in the deep south, things are quiet for now. But let's move on here to picks of the week because I've got some. Actually, I'm not the lead on the 10 o'clock news tonight for the first time in many weeks. It's a shock. Mackerel. We have a political situation down here in our state. I don't even want to talk about my.
Don't go there. Please don't go there.
I was just looking at Aubrey and that big monitor back behind her that they had this guy on there, but I'm not going down that road. I am not even going to open up that can of worms.
He's on our news.
I'm not the lead story tonight, which is a shock, but still I got to get in there. So let's go through picks of the week. Aubrey, what you got for us?
Mine is the story of the Great Blue Norther, one of my favorite historical weather stories and links. And yesterday was the anniversary. Saturday was the anniversary of it. So
awesome. And we just passed the anniversary back on I think it was Friday of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald in 1975, the Witch of November. 29 men lost their life when that big iron ore tanker went down on the Lake Superior and had a big hit song from Gordon Lightfoot. It's funny. A lot of people didn't know that was a real story until we kind of started telling them this actually is a true story. But anyway, that was an anniversary. So my pick, it's a La Nina story from Jason, our friend up at the Capital Weather Gang. There's 10 million stories about La Nina. But I like the way he writes, and I thought he put together some good facts. And here's the deal with this ENSO stuff. The El Nino Southern Oscillation Phase, it's important, but sometimes the correlation is kind of loose.
Yeah,
you can't just generalize things all the time, and people want to simplify this, and it's not that simple. But anyway, the link will be up on weatherbrains.com. Brian Peters, what is your pick of the week?
I would like to send people to a great site for information on what's going to happen at 1:47 Pacific Standard Time tomorrow morning. Does anybody know?
Watching NASA TV, Brian?
No, but not at that hour of the morning.
That's what I was supposed to do tonight. I was supposed to cut video for that.
Yeah, it'll be the launch of the JPSS-1. So the next generation of polar orbiting satellites. I'm so excited. It should be wonderful. I hope it, all gets off to a good start.
Our friend Marshall Shepard wrote a nice piece in Forbes about that, just as a supplementary piece you might want to read about the importance of the polar orbiters. GO-16 is the sexy, that's gotten all the pub, but this is a pretty important launch. So,
James, when I went to the NWA meeting out in California this year, I was really impressed with all the information that's coming from the polar orbiting satellites. So there was so much information about them, and especially about the JPSS-1 coming up. But I guess I'd lost track of the fact that so many of those polar orbiting satellites are actually providing more data to the models than what the geostationary synchronous ones are.
Yeah, I think Marshall had that point in his piece. They are very important, and we hope that launch goes very well this morning.
Yeah,
I would go to Kevin, but he's still chewing Kevin is chewing somebody out in there.
I've got his link if you want. It's a New York Times article, Lessons Learned from Harvey.
Okay, man. His hands are animated. His fingers are going. This is just great here. So if only we had audio. That's going to wrap this one up here, guys. I think we're done. If we missed anything.
Some picks, don't I, James?
Oh, that's right. Bill's got to do. Now, Bill's. I hold him for the end because he promotes the upcoming shows. So I'm sorry, Bill. Go.
Yeah, my pick is the Weather Service had an update on winter weather initiatives. They had a partner webinar on October the 10th, and Dave Soroka ran it, and that was alluded to in tonight's show, and it has more information. Watches and advisories are being consolidated or were consolidated starting October 2nd nationally, and warnings are being consolidated in the central region as a demonstration this year. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to have Eli Jacks on in just a few weeks to talk about that. As a matter of fact, Eli Jacks will be here on December 4th. Next week, we will have Steve Glazer and Karen Geronin on talking about careers. Author Stephen Long will join us on the 27th, talking about the 1938 hurricane from a forestry standpoint. And retiring Steve Weiss from the SPC will be with us on December the 11th. And we're hoping to have Greg Mant, who is the program director for the JPSS satellite, on December the 18th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Those are some of the shows coming up here shortly on WeatherBrains, James.
Bill, you line up some big acts for this show. This is like huge. So anybody going to the Vortex Southeast little shindig this week?
Need a driver?
Yeah. The deal is, the problem is that they have this thing in like November. So what is November for those of us in the television business?
Sweeps.
Yes, the ratings, and we're not allowed to take any time off. So I've got to zip up there very briefly and come right back. But for those that don't know, Vortex, let's see, verification of the origin of rotation within tornadoes experiment, southeast. And this is dealing with tornadoes. I had to learn that specifically in the southeastern states and Dixie Alley, places like Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas. And again, very obviously we have a vested interest in this for those of us down here in the deep south. But I'll have a full report for my little time there next week. But looking at the old clock, ladies and gentlemen, we got to put the ribbon on this thing. WeatherBrains is typically on the air every Monday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. We know most of you listen, which is cool. It's a podcast. Listen whenever you want to, on demand, baby. But if you do want to watch it live, most people watch it at live.bigbrainsmedia.com. And if you want to send us an email, it's email@weatherbrains.com. Get in touch with us. Our social media accounts are up on the website as well. And all the show notes are there, weatherbrains.com. So on behalf of the entire WeatherBrains crew, I'm James Spann. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and God bless.
And my favorite line from the Mr. Plow episode of The Simpsons, a burp is not an answer.
That'd be another great show title right there. For the first time in weeks, we're actually out on time. This is like
that's kind of nice. I like that.
We made it. All right, guys, I got to change and get on TV. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.